morning. This is Tina Wilt. I represent BCF Group, and thank you for joining us. Hopefully everyone's gotten logged in and is ready to go and can see my screen. So let's get right to it. So thank you for joining us today. Today's webinar will be recorded and posted on the BCF Group website. And today, I'm excited to talk to everyone about prescription drug costs and savings. We'll answer questions about why prescription drug costs are so high. And then we'll also talk about strategies we've used with our clients to help them save big money. I have left some time for questions at the end, so please use the chat feature and we will make sure that your questions are answered. And if we don't get to everyone's question, I'll be happy to follow up with emails. Thank you. So before we get started, let me share a little bit about BCF Group. BCF Group is a local third-generation insurance agency serving central Pennsylvania and the surrounding communities. We specialize in helping our clients protect their assets and prevent catastrophic loss. We specialize in providing insurance to businesses and individuals, but at the end of the day, it's all about solving and preventing problems for our clients. We are in the service business and we serve our clients. Regarding employee benefits, we do the traditional insurance stuff, but where we like to live is in the alternative world. In fact, BCF Group is a Health Rosetta advisor. Health Rosetta is a movement by like-minded advisors across the country working to fix what's broken in our healthcare system. So Americans pay more than 2.5 times as much for the exact same prescription drugs when compared to other developed countries. And I would argue it's probably a whole lot more than 2.5 times. Why is that? Good question. So industry experts cite that the structure of the US pharmaceutical system, direct-to-consumer advertising, and big pharma gaming the system are 3 of the leading reasons or factors for why prescription drugs are so high. We'll unpack each one of these. I think we've got a lot to share. I think this will be very enlightening for people to actually see what's going on under the hood. Let's take a look at the structure. So the structure of the system, often referred to as death by a million cuts. The transaction complexity and lack of transparency within the US prescription drug system makes identifying and removing hidden revenue streams almost impossible. To demonstrate just how big this problem is, $340 billion goes through this system. And of course, with all of the complexity, there is a huge opportunity for profiteering. So whether it's patients, employers, government, health plans, pharmacy benefit managers, pharmacies, wholesalers, manufacturers, there are a lot of players in this system. Another factor driving exorbitant costs is direct-to-consumer advertising, big part of it. So why is it such a problem? Patients see drugs on TV and ask for them by name from their doctors. So they know what to ask for. It looks very attractive. Those commercials come on during dinner time, and the people are very attractive and they're very happy and healthy. So of course, patients want those drugs. Doctors are courted by drug reps to prescribe their drugs. Neither patient nor doctor knows the price of the drug. The plan is left, your health plan is left to pay with really no recourse. It's really a perfect storm. So Stelara is highlighted here. I went on GoodRx and just did a little bit of research on Stelara. The maker is Johnson & Johnson. The 2020 sales were $7.7 billion. The average dose cost is $31,000 or $186,000 a year if it's taken every 8 weeks. And the key patent expirations are not for another 5 years, so 2025 and 2026. So we won't see generics for this drug or biosimilars until at least that time. And I would argue there's probably going to be some strategies that Johnson & Johnson has up their sleeve for extending their brand exclusivity for this drug. So just for your information, one of the good resources available at no cost, super easy, just type it into your browser, is GoodRx. GoodRx is a good site for information. It may also be a good site for anyone who wants to bypass their insurance to try to get a lower cost on a drug. And this site is especially effective for filling generic drugs. So that's just, kind of like one of those low-hanging fruit pieces. You can just kind of put this out to members, let them know that this is a good resource. So I use GoodRx all the time. So lastly, one of the, most problematic reasons for high cost drugs is big pharma gaming the system. So drug manufacturers are experts at making sure that their interests are served. So they have a number of things up their sleeves, like pay for delay agreements, restricting access, evergreening, and thicketing. So let's just go through what they are and how they're used, and really what a huge detriment it is to the consumer. So pay for delay agreements, a brand drug company simply pays a generic biosimilar manufacturer not to launch a version of the drug. So if a patent excludes generics for a certain number of years, then the brand manufacturer just simply pays all of the competition not to infringe upon their market share. Restricting access, another way pharmaceutical firms are thwarting generics is by restricting access to samples for testing. So generic drug manufacturers need to purchase a large quantity of sample brand name product so that they can conduct bioequivalent testing. And without access to massive amounts of the drug, they simply can't do their testing. Evergreening. This is particularly interesting and one that we see quite a bit. And actually, when we talk about it, you'll know what we're talking about. It involves making small alterations to a drug, a slight change to its chemical composition. So before Nexium, there was Prilosec. AstraZeneca decided to evergreen Prilosec by using 1/2 of the Prilosec molecule, an isomer of it, and they called it Nexium. Nexium, a derivative of Prilosec, was then granted exclusivity for more than 15 years, as AstraZeneca received 97 protections stemming from 16 patents. So that's pretty complex stuff, but it is effective in making sure that you maintain market share. And then there's another very recent example where Humira reformulated their drug to just not contain citrate, citrate being something that is in the chemical composition. So you'll see commercials that say Humira citrate free, and you're like, wow, I didn't know I needed that. Well, guess what? That was just a purposeful effort to make sure that their drug remained the world's top selling drug for inflammation and some other disease types, if you'll have it. So the next thing is called thicketing, which involves deluging the Patent and Trademark Office, and the courts with so many patents and applications, the system essentially just locks up. So examples of this are Humira. They have 132 patents that block competition for up to 39 years. Revlimid, one of the most prescribed cancer treatments, has 96 patents and is protected for 40 years. And Lantus insulin may not see a generic equivalent for 37 years due to 49 patents. So we can't get enough generic drugs being biosimilar at much less cost. So these schemes represent, and the Federal Trade Commission says that about $3.5 billion is passed on to consumers because of these thwarting schemes. Others estimate quite a bit higher, like 6.4 billion or up to 36 billion is being passed on to consumers because of the lack of competition. So I've just cited 3 examples of why prescription drugs are so darn expensive in the United States. And there's other things, but these are really the main items that are fighting against you, your health plan, and just making sure that your members can access effective drugs cost effectively. So recently, on July 9th, an executive order by the Biden administration created 72 initiatives by more than 12 federal agencies designed to promote competition within the American economy. So regarding healthcare, a few things came down. The executive order encourages the FTC to ban pay for delay in similar agreements. Again, we'll see if that happens. Directed HHS to increase support for generic and biosimilars. Directs HHS to develop a plan to combat high prescription drug prices and price gouging within 45 days. And incidentally, that was on August 23rd. And it also directs the FDA to work with states and tribes to safely import prescription drugs from Canada. So will the government solve the problem? I don't think so. We've seen things like this come through before. Drug manufacturers and those with a vested interest in the system just launch their lobbyists, their attorneys to just sue. The fact that the executive order encourages international drug sourcing says to me they can't or they won't. So they're just saying, hey, we will try, perhaps, but if all else fails, just go to another country to source your drugs. They're all coming from the same manufacturers. It's just the distribution system that's different. And it just happens to be that the United States has the most difficult, I'd say, delivery system. So not holding out hope there. So what are we to do about this massive problem? It impacts no less than 20% of a healthcare spend. Drug therapy is huge It is what is being done by doctors for many, many ailments. I would argue that we need to, on many fronts, take matters into our own hands. And starting with choosing the best partners and the most properly aligned partners. We only align with pharmacy benefit managers, PBMs. Those are the companies that sit between the drug manufacturers and the pharmacy. We only choose pass-through arrangements where any margins are removed by the PBM. We insist that 100% of the rebates are returned for rebates received by brand manufacturers for dispensing brand drugs are returned to the plan sponsor. We look at all different kinds of formularies, exclude oftentimes low efficacy, new to market drugs, look at the language. There's just a litany of problem areas typically attached with PBM contracts and how they do their work. Lastly, I'd like to bring your attention to the items at the bottom. Notice the top PBMs, pharmacy benefit managers, are owned by the industry's top health insurance carriers. This is really no coincidence. It's by design. It's another huge revenue stream for them. So this is what we're up against. Needless to say, when we have the opportunity, we do not align with the big three. They do not have a plan sponsors or even a consumer's best interest at heart. They have really their own shareholders and profit margins, at mind or top of mind. So this is a really good place to start when you start exercising strategies to leverage cost containment and cost reduction in prescription drug spend. So absolutely imperative to have the right partners. So as you recall, the executive order does loosen the legalities around international drug sourcing. They say, hey, listen, have at it, because we are mired in a system that's ineffective. So international sourcing of drugs is an option for our clients. This is an actual example showing $25,000 savings or 70% off of the PBM price or the fill price. When you source drugs internationally, directly from the manufacturer, bypassing the US pharmaceutical system. So these drugs are FDA approved and are sourced from other tier 1 countries like Canada, England, New Zealand. And typically, these drugs are brand maintenance drugs, and they're delivered directly to the member's home free of cost. The plan is happy to pay 100% of the discounted price because it does deliver such savings. So this is a good next step after you have the cooperation of an aligned PBM. International drug sourcing may be something that you would want to consider. And it doesn't have to be mandatory. It can be optional for folks. So you could say to someone, you can go to the pharmacy and pay your copay, deductible, coinsurance, whatever it is, or you can use our international drug solution and pay nothing. So it's quite attractive and brings quite a great amount of value to members. This is another powerful example. So this is year-to-date savings for one of our clients of almost $300,000 when it comes to specialty fills. In certain circumstances, not all, it makes sense to exclude specialty drugs from a benefit plan. and that's strategic in nature. By doing this, it opens up the opportunity for manufacturer's assistance programs that are available only when a patient does not have insurance for specialty drugs. This example shows how a manufacturer's assistance program is both beneficial for the member and the plan. So let me explain what you're looking at here. So the drug category is specialty. The next column is the name of the drug. The next would be the dosing. Moving over to the 0 column, that is the member responsibility. They don't pay anything. The next column, $60 per fill, is what the plan pays for the administration and the hassle of putting all of this together for the plan. So the next column is the savings between the drug being 0 or having the cost of $60 for the plan, or what it would normally fill for one fill from your pharmacy. So it's $11,250 all the way down to $51.38. So we have these numbers reported to us monthly and year to date through July 2021. $286,000. Member pays nothing. The plan so far year to date has paid $2,160 and has saved, again, close to $300,000. Most manufacturers' assistance programs do require the patient to meet certain income qualifications to be eligible. So there's a couple of moving parts here that really have to be coordinated. That's our job. We're happy to do it and make sure that the programs that you deploy make great sense for your population. But again, it's just another powerful way to get around the otherwise U.S. pharmaceutical drug cartel. Another very effective example of how we help our clients save money is to alternatively source J-coded drugs. So this is going to be foreign to most of you, but J-coded drugs are medications that are paid as a medical claim, not as a prescription drug claim. They're administered via infusion, usually at a hospital, infusion center, or doctor's office. They fall into the specialty drug category, prescribed for autoimmune conditions, cancers, and blood disorders. And they typically represent a significant cost driver within health plans. So J-coded drugs, you got to know what to look for. That's our job. That's what we do. This is what we've been doing for years, and it is effective. And we want to get the word out for people to understand that there are arrows in your quiver that you can deploy. So here's an example of how we have helped our clients save on J-code drugs. So a J-code drug called Entyvio. Entyvio is a common autoimmune specialty drug that is almost always administered at a facility. So you've got not only the drug cost, which, believe me, is being marked up by a facility or a doctor's office. Then you have the cost of the facility, the nurses, any staff that is helping administer the drug. So this is a big money maker for the healthcare system. So by sourcing the drug differently and administering the medication at home, the member and the plan save money. So in this example, we are able to save the plan $10,761.31. So there is savings. This is not a program where you can get the drugs for free to the plan. This, however, is free to the member, and the plan is happy to pay the discounted amount because there is significant savings there. So that's one very common drug. Another common drug is Remicade. Remicade is also an autoimmune specialty drug and is almost always administered in a facility. This dosing is just like the prior, is every 8 weeks. And we are able to save annually $12,438. This is no cost to the member. They actually can receive their treatment at home, which is super nice. A nurse will come on site and help with the infusion. They'll remain so that there's no adverse reactions, and they will coordinate with the dosing prescriber, the doctor, and make sure that everything is buttoned up. So this is, how we would address Jcoded drugs. So really, in conclusion, significant Rx savings are possible. However, in our playbook, there are some requirements. You have to, absolutely have to, have ongoing access to detailed drug information and medical information for the Jcoded drugs, but it's imperative. We don't know what to target until we understand what's being utilized within your group. And it's very important that you partner with aligned vendors, TPAs, PBMs, and other cost containment solutions. We have a preferred list of all of these that we work with that have demonstrated that their greatest value and interest is helping clients. It's not really bolstering their shareholders or protecting their margins or making more money. They just want to do what's right. I can't underestimate or underemphasize the importance of educating plan members to get their buy-in. It's just easier if your culture supports transparency and honest communication between management and plan members about this monster, this big thing that we're all trying to fight. We're not rationing care. We're not delivering inferior services or products. We are just purchasing things differently and smarter. So you must work with an advisor that gets it. So there's a little bit of work to this, and that all falls on us. Of course, we need help from our groups to allow us to do the work that we need to do to get it done. But most all of this, I would say 99% falls on us, and we guide you. We help you understand what you need to do to impact your bottom line. So if you want to know more, I am available at tinaw@bcfgroup.net. My phone number is 669-7200. I would be more than happy to talk to you about these strategies and more for impacting the cost of your prescription drugs. So if there's any questions, please use the chat feature. I would be happy to answer questions. You can also email me, and I can get back to you quickly to make sure that you have what you need going into renewing plans, fourth quarter and 1/1. Maybe now is the best time to make a change. The tools, the fixes, the resources are out there. You just have to decide if you want to continue on the crazy train or step off and do things that make sense. So thank you for your time. What's a good first step? Okay, so this is the first question. What's a good first step if I'm interested in a change, but now how to get started? So basically, the first thing to do is to evaluate your plan funding. And by that, I mean, if you're fully insured and your drugs are also fully insured under an insurance carrier like Highmark or Blue Cross or United or Aetna, you're not going to have access to information. So the first thing that you need to do is to examine kind of the chassis that your health plan sits on, the funding. If you need to move to a more transparent funding option that gives you reporting, that gives you detailed claims information, that would be your first step. All of this comes after that. You can't target expensive, egregiously priced items until you know what they are. We help our groups consider and evaluate whether self-funding on their plan and certainly their prescription drugs makes sense. So that would be a very good first step, and we can help with that. So hopefully that answered the question that someone put in the chat. So it looks as though we are wrapping things up. No other questions have come in, but again, please feel free to call me at 669-7200 or email me at tinaw@bcfgroup.net. Thank you for your time and have a great day.